IR, international relations, like economic relations, always occur within a biophysical context. Even though the study of both of those fields, international affairs and economics, often is conducted as if there's no ecological, biophysical basis for them. In reality, there is, and ultimately, if we exceed the limits of biophysical systems, then it does kind of bite back, and it bites back in political terms, in economic terms, and in ethical terms. So to me, a well-grounded understanding of international relations is one that is quite literally grounded in natural resources. From a human behavior perspective, probably the most critical issue is the question of excess. That is, humans do have a tendency to want more and more. And whether it's the individual consuming more and more, or a nation wants to expand more and more, think empire, for example, colonization, and so forth. In previous times, in times when international relations developed, there was plenty of space to expand to, plenty more to consume, and that simply is not the fact anymore. The world is full of human activity, the human population, human technological capacity, and humans' consumption rates. Well, at some level, it's always individuals acting that affects any kind of a social goal, and those actions, again, at some level, always have global impacts. But the real question, from a political perspective, as I see it, is how does an individual behave within a larger sort of social, cultural, institutional context? And so we are shaped by the institutions that we're born into, and we also shape them. And so it's that agency of being agents of change through institutions, and I'm using institutions broadly, not just formal, WTO or something, but institutions broadly. That's how we affect change. And in particular, with respect to sustainability, it is not just a collection of individual acts that somehow aggregate into an outcome. It is collective acts shaped by norms and principles and general sort of ethical standards that affects outcomes. At some level, all of us want to change the world. But in a realistic sense, of course, we can't really do that. But what we can do is try to figure out how to live well within this world. And for me, part of living well is not just doing good for myself or even for my family or my friends or my community, but part of living well is doing well for others in a very broad sense, so that other, whether it's the community next door, the nation next door, or the other is the biophysical world, as I said before, or even the spiritual world. All those others is a part of living well. And I think the best that each of us can do is try to figure out how to live well, and well within our means on this planet.